Hey guys, welcome back to Ash Echoes. In today's video, we're going to be checking out the CN tier list and talking about all the characters briefly so you guys can have an understanding of the characters that are going to be coming out in the future and what you might want to save for. We've got the special guest Liriell on again. Now, I'll leave a link to her stuff in the description below. She's also the lead, community moderator on the Discord as well. So she is very tied into the game and plays the CN version. So I don't play the CN, so I have no idea. We're going to be learning together with Liriell in this one. Liriell, welcome back onto the channel. How are you?
Thank you for inviting me again. I'm Liriell. As you know, I'm the head staff for Ash Echoes at pridewin.gg, and I'm also the lead community mod at the official Ash Echoes global server.
Yep, and you're also very knowledgeable on the CN side, which is handy to have. Because, I mean, whenever these games have a release in a foreign version before the global, it's always nice to know what's coming out, what to be looking for, if your favorite's going to be absolutely trash or, you know, they're going to be decent. And the good thing is with all the new characters that are coming out, obviously people are going to just jump to the S tier, but it's a bit more nuanced we've learnt in the game than just being, oh, the S tier, we only get those. And I think out of all the new units, there's only one who was a 5-star who is actually below A tier. So they're all going to be decent, all the upcoming characters. So if you like one, you're going to be pretty safe to go ahead and pull them. But let's jump into it and let's start taking a look at them. The first one is going to be Fang. What's the shtick with her? Because I think she's really cool with the rifle, but what's she actually doing game?
Okay, Fang, as you can see, is a ranger. That means she's very good for long battles. She has an infinite amount of skill uses. Both of her skills are active skills, and they also count as summons. So her weapons count as summons. So each of her active skills, she changes to a different weapon. And each of these weapons is considered a different summon, which means that if you pair her with Boreas, who will come a little bit before her, she gets 100% critical buff from him. So very, very good. And that's one of the main reasons why to this day, despite being a early character, kind of. I think that's 4th patch or something. She's still, in terms of raw damage, the highest DPS in the game.
Nice. Yeah, so even though they're considered summons, she's like early days, would we be chucking her in like Chen and Luke teams for the early days, or do you think Boreas is going to come out first? So we're basically just going to pick him up, slap him with her, and then away you go.
Boreas will come out first, but since all these characters use skills and weapons that are considered summons, you can use her in your sending team, or you can make a full ice team, or you can make a melt team. You can go wild with options.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, because she's the ice as opposed to the physical that we had previously. Nice. Then Jean.
Jean is the half anniversary unit. As you know, most Gacha in anniversary and half anniversary, they always have a broken unit. Yep. And the reason why she's there, aside from being very strong by herself, is because of Uni. Some of you may have heard of this trick already. Some of you may not know it, but there is this memory trace called "My Vision is Clear," which gives 100% bonus damage. And currently, the only unit who can trigger that is Yuchi. And you need to basically pair UT with Furry and Ferney, and that's kind of convoluted, but it's a huge damage boost. But all that changes once Uni and Jean are released, because Uni is fantastic at placing water zones, and Jean is a square lightning DPS, so she can trigger My Vision is Clear. So the two of them together, they have the buffs, they have everything you may ever want, and they are one of the highest DPS in the game. They have fast cycling. they have everything.
And
That's
then
why they are
and so a lot of these
considered
things
the best team.
a lot of these things we're talking about is like, you know, Fang with Boreas, we're talking about Jean with Uni and stuff like that. When you look at building these, so if you're saving for one, you're probably going to want to save for the other one. And then when you're building a team around them, what are you chucking in there? Is it like normally like we have a standard, you chuck a Fredder in there for some sustain as a free-to-play option, and then you chuck a tank in, like if you've got Liriell, you slap her in? Or is it going to be the case of some of these are more triple DPS and sustain, or what's the general formation you're looking at when you start building teams around these characters?
On the content of the game, personally, I don't think that tanks are very needed later on, because once you get your director built and once your account is a high enough level, you get so much base vitality and defense that most units become tanky enough that it's easier to like kill everything as fast as possible instead of having a tank.
Yeah,
like,
so just bring a second offensive buffer or another damage dealer that synergizes with the strategy you're going with.
Yeah, it's like that logic. The best defense is offense. Like they can't hurt you if they are dead.
Yeah.
This is also one of the reasons why I want to bring in Baili here for the upcoming simultaneous raid with Sephonis. The teams with Baili and Scarlet are the two best teams that we are gonna have on the global server. Yep. And the reason for that is because they bring more than one carry. Like the Baili team has Baili and Cyrus.
And Cyrus,
so both of them are carries. And Scarlet, you will always pair her with Azusa. And sometimes you can even bring a third character that helps a lot on the DPS, like Begonia.
Yeah.
So those are the teams that are gonna go harder in this kind of content where we want to dish as much DPS as possible. But of course, we are also gonna have other kinds of content in the future where your team will get barraged with a lot of projectiles and massive waves of enemies. And this is where characters like Kylin and Skyler come around, because Kylin is a vanguard like Liriell, so he can switch between an offensive and defensive mode. And we know from Liriell that characters with that are very versatile and very good to have overall.
Yep.
The difference between him and Liriell is that in his defensive mode, he can place a barrier in front of him. So you can just place all your units behind that permanent barrier, and that makes things a lot easier.
And that just blocks projectiles?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, perfect.
It's a huge barrier. He has a lot of control. He can pull a lot of enemies together. The same thing with Skyler. She has a long range, and she can also pull a lot of enemies and get them stuck into a circle.
Yeah.
So you can just focus all your damage on that circle.
So if we were looking at a tier list for AoE type situations, these two would probably be up in the S tier is the kind of thing I'm getting at?
Yep, exactly.
Yep. Yeah, perfect. All right, so that's gone through. So we've gone through Fang, and we've already touched on Boreas. We've gone through Jean and Uni and their combo. What about Midas?
So Midas or Midas, wherever, I don't know how to pronounce that.
Hey, I suck at every name in every game, so don't think I'm saying this stuff right. I'm just guessing here.
Okay, so he's one of the current best DPS as well, but he relies on being paired up with a second summoner who has a lot of summons. So you have to bring Zenin or Luke, or both, if you have both. Because every time an allied character summon attacks, then Midas on summon will do a follow-up attack. So you get a character like...
I'm looking forward to this guy. I got my Chad and Luke ready. Like, let's get on him. That sounds sick.
So you get like Zenin and Luke in the field, and they summon like 20 turrets and drones or whatever all attacking at the same time, and you have Midas going crazy.
Dude, that's insane. Okay, so for those that went the summoner path at the start of the game, he's definitely an easy pickup. I'm looking forward to that. Perfect. That's all I need to know about him. What about Thea, however we say her name?
Okay, so Thea is mainly a character for teams related to fire. She will be fantastic for those who like the Baili and Cyrus team.
Yep.
But she can fit basically anywhere, and in some cases you may even use her instead of Freda or Longqing.
Yep.
Because the thing with Thea is that she can rewind time. So both her, I think it's her second skill, if I'm not mistaken, and her ultimate can rewind time. So you activate it, and then you leave it running for a while. And when you want to rewind time, you click on it again to apply a second effect. And the HP of your team.
So it's like a HP snapshot. It snapshots your HP,
yeah,
and then if you drop, you just click it again. You come back to where your HP was when you snapshotted.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Yes. But you don't actually rewind time and lose the damage you've dealt. It's just it's one of those HP snapshot abilities. Yeah, I always love those abilities in games.
Like, she's a time mage, and if you ever played one of those the older Final Fantasy games, or
I'm thinking World of Warcraft. Yeah, I'm with you.
Time mages are always broken in those kinds of games, and Thea is exactly that. She also has a fail-proof passive that if the character gets below a certain percentage of the HP, then the skill triggers by itself and they get their HP back all the way to where you had saved.
Yeah, so it's an insta save as well. That's pretty solid. Okay, I get why she's up there, and then obviously having the synergy with the fire team as well is going to be super solid. We talked about Abreus. Elpis. Now, I've had a chat with you privately about Elpis before. Give us the rundown, because she is one of those just universally good characters, and I believe you said to me she's like the one character in the game. If you had to say one character to get a dupe of, she would be it. Was that correct?
Yes. If I had to recommend a character for every single player to get a dupe one, to get a character and get a dupe one, it would be Elpis. Because at dupe one, she can place, like, her main skill is a massive field she places on the ground, and that field provides damage over time, and it also provides healing over time. But if you get her dupe one, it will also provide to all allies who are stepping on that field 50% cooldown reduction on active skills, and
which is huge for burst.
25% bonus attack. So it's a
insane.
Huge buff in a single dupe.
And so does she excel more in the wind team and then just universally splashable in just about, like, with that ability, I feel like you're universally splashable in just about any team.
She splashes in any team. She's a little bit like Solbyrd, how he's doing now on CN.
Yeah.
Because her best team will, of course, be the wind team, because she buffs the wind attribute more. But you can use her as a leader for any team. And she also has that fantastic buff from her first dupe, which is very easy to get if you save just a little bit. You know how free-to-play friendly this game is. So
it's like, dude, I've gotten both banner characters, both banner, and lost 50/50s along the way, and both banner traces, and I still have 40,000 premium currency. I just don't even know I just want something to summon with. I've never had this problem in a game. Let's move on to Baili. He is the next character we are getting on Global. Give us a rundown on him. Obviously, we know he's going to go in the fire team with Cyrus. They're going to be a great combo together, but just give us a quick rundown on Baili. We've been getting actually the test version of him in the event as well to experiment with, so have a fair idea, but just give us your rundown on him.
Okay, so the great thing about Baili is that he can be incredibly tanky, because although he sacrifices his HP, every time he does that, he gets a shield, and he also gets a buff on damage reduction and attack. So, like, first skill uses, he sacrifices 50% of his current HP, and then he sacrifices more and more. But he keeps these buffs after he's healed, and he keeps the shield too.
Yep.
This is why he's gonna be so great with Thea up there. Because
Yep.
he's gonna get all the buffs stacked, and then she rewinds time, and he gets his HP full, and so he had everything stacked up.
Yeah, perfect.
He will be great with Cyrus because you can keep both of them at the front line, and they are also both main carries.
Yeah.
So you can focus on damage. I'd say the only downside for them is that they are very, very slow at cycling. Like Fire relies a lot on dealing damage over time, so there's a little bit slower than other teams. For instance, the Wind team with Scarlet or the Summoner team with Sending both have big burst windows.
Yep.
And meanwhile, the Baili and Cyrus team, it's more
Keep the fire up and
time.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I think I'm definitely going to pull for him. I was going to skip him, but like I've just got too many summons, so I think I'm just going to pick him up. Then I've got the summoner team, I've got the wind team, and I've got the fire team all ready for the bossing. It's just the problem is that those will be my core DPS. I just need to build up extra supports to go in and fill the final slots in the team. That's going to be the hardest part about trying to build 3 teams pretty shortly is just the resource income. But we'll be safe. We'll get there. Now. Leilani, am I saying that correctly? I have no idea, but let's jump into her.
Yeah, so Leilani and Solbyrd, I want to talk about them together because they're both Corrosion.
Yep.
They are going to be key characters for the Corrosion team. Leilani will come first with the Chapter 6 update.
Yep.
She comes right after Uni's banner. So for people who are trying to save for specific characters, I'm giving you sort of a timeline. If you wish, I can quick list the order.
Yeah, quick list it. Yeah, that's all right. I can always cover it in another video and go through the full schedule. But yeah, so who should be after Baili?
So after Baili, it's gonna be Skyler, then Boreas, then Fang, then Kylin, then Uni, Leilani. After Leilani is Tisha. After Tisha is Jean. After Jean is Elpis, then Solbyrd, then Chichi, and then Midas.
I am thoroughly impressed that you could just wing that off the top of your head. Wow. All right. Let's continue with Leilani and Solbyrd.
Okay, so Leilani is a massive, massive boost for the Corrosion team. If you think the Corrosion team is already powerful, you need to see it with Leilani. Because currently the main carries of the Corrosion team are both 5 stars. It's Caroline and Gina, but mainly Caroline. So what happens when you use as the main character not only a 6-star, but a 6-star who can trigger corrosion blasts at will?
Because, so you don't need to fully charge it.
Yeah, so I think the main downside for the corrosion team is that it's very difficult for you to time the corrosion blasts
and get it when you want it.
Yeah, because sometimes you have that massive corrosion blast ready and you want to use that burst into an enemy, but it ends up going
into one little ad that was left. Yeah.
Yeah, and it sucks. But Leilani's combo ability can trigger a corrosion blast by itself, so it's very, very good to control that. And every time you use her combo skills, she also gets a permanent buff. So even when you run out of buffs, her auto attack will become so powerful, and it also bounces to nearby enemies that she can be still very strong even without any active skill uses left.
Yep.
So she's very solid, very good to use for quick bursts, very good to use for long fights as well. And then you have Solbyrd. Solbyrd will come after Elpis, as I said. The problem with him, and the reason why he's on A tier, is because if you want to use him to his full potential, he needs 3 dupes, with can be quite expensive. Like
okay, so
one dupe
three dupes puts him into S tier, but what's his 3 dupe do?
Yeah, that's why I said that if you check the bottom of the tier list comment, this is something I had to do both for him.
The bottom of the comments, yeah.
The bottom of the comment.
Dupe 1 and 3 are necessary to cover his shortcomings, but if achieved, he's S tier. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's because his ultimate, instead of being based on cooldowns, it's tied to his other mechanics.
Yep.
So to get that flow going in an effective way, you need him at 3 dupes. He will still be useful at 0 dupes because, similar to Elpis, he also has a field that he can place on the ground, and that will increase the damage of all enemies inside that ground by 100%. So it's like having
big amplification. Yep.
Yeah, so it's a big amplification. But if you have him at 3 dupes, then you can, like, I love to use him paired with Elpis in my CN account. Yep. I don't have him on my CN account, but I borrow a 3 dupes version of him.
Oh, yep.
Since I'm free to play there, so I didn't have enough to get him with 3 dupes, but I always borrow his 3 dupes version, because you can just spam his ultimate over and over and over once you pair those two.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. But yeah, he's an expensive character, and that's why he's on A tier.
Yep.
It's the same thing with Chichi. Chichi also has a lot of damage, and she can be very fast on dealing damage, which is good for speed running. But she also needs 3 dupes to have that flow of skills going on smoothly, you know.
And what would she be paired with? Someone like Uni, or what type of what type of combo damage are you doing? Or are you doing explosion with her, or is she not really triggering reactions?
She's usually with explosion with Cyros, but
okay.
You also you can pair her for explosion with Cyros, or you can use her with Jean and Uni to trigger the My Vision is Clear trace.
Yep.
But usually you use her with Elpis as the leader, because Elpis places the
field
giant field of buff.
Yep.
And that makes her super fast at dishing damage.
Perfect. What about Kylin?
Yeah, I already.
We already spoke about Kylin and Skyler. Yes,
Skyler.
Perfect. So the only one left to talk about is, how do you say her name? I was going to say it probably wrong.
Yeah, I pronounce it Tisha.
Okay, Tisha. Okay, yeah, that's not what I was going to say. All right, let's go to Tisha. What's the gist? She's got a eye patch. She must be tough.
Yeah, she's a very cool character. She's a little bit like Sambeka in the sense that she uses 3 elements. She can use water, ice, and lightning. And she can trigger almost any elemental reaction by herself. And one cool thing about her is that when you use her skill, she places sort of a totem on the ground.
Yep.
And that will from time to time trigger the reaction in that area. And that's something very handy and very useful to have. So she's kind of...
So is it the totem that triggers everything, or does she like produce her own water zones and stuff, kind of like, what's her face? Like, you say the totem, is the totem just something that triggers random reactions, or does she provide the zones to create the reactions with? Like, is she a solo reaction, or...
She provides the zones,
okay.
and you select it.
Okay,
she was
perfect.
A little bit confusing for me at first when I first tried her, because I was like, what? Wait, why does she have 3 skills? What's this? How do I use this? And then I realized that no, one creates a water zone and also triggers lightning from time to time. The second one triggers ice from time to time. And she also has another skill that increases the elemental damage received by the target. It's a chain that she ties to the target. So she can make the target take more lightning damage or more water damage or more whatever element you want.
So and is she kind of the character that kind of can splash into any team, but the problem is most of the main reaction teams might have better combos than using her, but she can splash into all of them. So she's an A tier because she's not like best in slot in the teams, but she's a good option for all of them. Is that kind of a general gist of the view of her? That's what I'm sort of trying to pick up on.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So she can fit in almost anything, especially if you want to take advantage of a specific elemental reaction. But despite having a lot of buffs and debuffs and having all this variety and utility within her kit, her buffs and debuffs aren't as strong as Boreas, Elpis, and Freda. And this is why she's A and not S.
Yeah. Jack of all trades, master of none, we would say, is the kind of gist I'm getting. Perfect. Well, that covers everyone. Like I said, we've only got the 1 5-star who doesn't get into the top tiers, but hey, it's a 5-star. We're just pulling for 6 stars over here. But really appreciate you coming on, Liriell. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we wrap it up?
To give a reminder to everyone who checks the tier list, because I've seen a few comments about this, to please pay attention to about the tier list and the criteria, because I saw some people commenting that, but this is a speedrunning tier list, that's an awful criteria, and that's not true at all. When we built the tier list, we took into consideration a lot of things, from versatility to raw power to how cheap that unit is. Like, does it need dupes? Does it not need dupes? Because we tried to make it something that every player could use as reference, like from whales to free-to-play players.
Yep. Yeah, so that makes sense. Trust me, I've learned over the time, you can tell people to look at the criteria as much as you want. They're just going to look at the list. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, so it's not a speedrunning tier list. I think this confusion came up because you asked me, okay, so why is Scarlet A and not S if she's the best character for guild bosses?
Yeah.
And I explained to you that because she's the best at those, but for speedrunning on all the other modes, then the 4 at the S tier are better.
Yeah.
But that's not the only
and I guess for that, like, being the best in the guild boss isn't as good as being the best in the other stuff, because in the guild boss you have to bring 3 teams. So even though she's the best, you still have to field 2 more teams, which then these come into being the best, because you can't have one best in guild boss. So yeah, I completely get it, but don't stress too much. Don't worry, you're putting in a ton of work. I really appreciate it. I'm sure everyone watching really appreciates it. But yeah, that's just it's always going to be the nature of tier lists forever. People just, you're always going to cop flack, but I really appreciate this. Even if people want to argue one movement on any character, I don't really care. This is a good way to get a general idea of characters, and I love that we've been able to go through all these ones coming in from the CN version and get a rough idea. I know for me personally, basically the main ones I am looking at is I'm obviously going to pick up Baili just so I've got a 3rd team built. Then I really want to get Midas personally, and also Elpis. Those are the main ones I'm looking at, and then if I can, I want to get Fang just because she looks cool as hell. And Thea, dude, I want to get all of them. Anyway, that's where I'm at anyway. Once again, guys, a massive shout out to Liriell. I'll have her links in the description as well. And if you see her in Discord, feel free to say hi. And as always, thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day. We'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers.